What's up and welcome. I hope you're having a marvelous morning. We sure are today because at Pretentious Pop Culture, because today we got a great show. Loki season 1 officially over. We're going to be talking about the final episode and our final thoughts on the season as a whole. Of course, I'm Justin, joined by the Disney Grizzly, Lucas.
What's up, everyone?
And the marvelous Mr. Wasp, Jake.
How y'all doing?
If you like this content, you can help us grow by liking the video, subscribing, engaging in the comments. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter as well, with Pretentious Pop Culture being our name everywhere. Please show some love to our partners, Adventures by Ables, and In the Bat Loop by sharing, liking, and subscribing to their content as well. Today's episode is sponsored by jakesdesignsrw.com, but we'll tell you about that later. Now, fellas, before we talk about Loki, what's going on with Marvel right now, Lucas?
All right, so we got a couple things going on with Marvel. So first off, Black Widow's box office numbers, 215 million worldwide at first weekend, and 60 million on Disney Plus alone. That is a huge number for a streaming service alone, especially with something you have to pay more for the video online than actually going to see it in theaters. So I think that's really impressive. We got the Don Cheadle Emmy nom, which is really weird, and we got it right here as well. But
for Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's only in it for 100 seconds of screen time.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. I'm a little perplexed myself. We also have Loki season 2 confirmed. And Tom Hiddleston is confirmed as well for Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. That is just, it keeps growing, keeps growing.
I'm loving it. We got the 3 magicians. We got Wanda. We got Strange. We got Loki now. So awesome.
I'm excited.
What's up, Katrina?
Katrina.
Happy to see you
Katrina.
here.
Okay. Thanks for letting us know. Happy birthday to your daughter.
Hello, we said happy birthday.
And then as well, some news that just creeped across the board as well. Haley Atwell confirmed as Captain Carter in Doctor Strange 2.
Pretty cool.
That cements what I was talking about in our last episode about what if being MCU canon and not just a cartoon about different stories.
Yeah.
Just happened to be with MCU tagged characters. So before we get out of Marvel news, I'm going to tag this is something that I want to talk about real quick. The fact that we saw Killmonger in What If trailer, I think that's how we're going to have him back in Black Panther 2. And I think moving forward, he is going to be the Black Panther.
Interesting. That'd be a safe choice, I think. Weird, but safe.
Would be safe.
Michael B. Jordan's great.
I think it's the right choice. I think Michael B. Jordan would honor the role that Chadwick Boseman brought to light and did such a good, strong performance with, because I think he is also on the same caliber of actor, especially for that kind of character.
Definitely. Agreed. So I did want to mention, we're going to talk about our thoughts on this season as a whole, but I just wanted to say, I've been saying a lot that I didn't think these shows were going to tie too closely into the movies. I'm just going to say right now, I was definitely wrong.
Yeah, you were.
So you were 100%
You're
wrong.
welcome.
You were okay.
I'm happy.
So
I'm happy to be wrong.
wrong.
I'm very happy to be wrong. I was hoping I would be, and I got my wish. But since the season is over, without spoiling anything, Jake, what did you think of this whole season, this first season of Loki?
I'm really happy with the way that things turned out. For a little while there, I was really certain how the end was going to go. And just towards the end, I started to doubt myself. And no, it turned out really close to how I thought it was going to turn out, which is cool. I was right on a lot of things in the show, so that always makes me happy.
Right. Anything else? Any further thoughts? What would you give this out of 10?
Oh, 9 out of 10. Easy.
9? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very entertaining, very fan servicey.
Yeah.
Lots of hidden
Very
gems. Even though we didn't get a wow, that's where I'm taking the point away.
Hey, we got a how. We
Hey,
got a
we did,
how.
but I'm still taking the point away for not getting a wow.
Right.
And no jet ski.
Hey, we got
No
season
jet ski,
2.
man.
We got season 2.
No
So
jet ski.
I'm willing to forgive that. Lucas, what'd you
Man.
think this first season?
Rating. I mean, it's a little bit. I don't know how long ago y'all watched it yesterday, but it's pretty fresh in my mind because
Mhm.
I like watched it at like 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. in the morning. So, what's up, Davey? How y'all doing?
Hey, Davey.
It's pretty fresh in my mind still, so it's 9. Like this whole season is a
Mhm.
9. The only thing that killed it for me was the Lamentus episode. Essentially, that was a really bad episode in my opinion. I had no fun with it, but that's why I didn't get a 10 out of 10. But the payoff was good. We'll talk about the payoff later. I think I'm a little upset with it, but at the same time, my upset isn't like angry upset. It's more like it didn't make 100% good narrative for the show and what they were doing. Me and Jake were just talking before we came live, and he kind of agrees, but he likes what they did. But other than that, I like what they did. I like the new addition of characters. I like how they how they basically expanded the world of what we've been watching for such a long time with just 6 episodes.
Right.
So definitely a 9 out of 10 on my part. Yeah.
I would give it a 9 out of 10. There's I don't have as much problem looking back at the Lamentus episode because it seems like it's really necessary to break the tension and give us a little bit of a lower kind of side story that makes the next episode so much more impactful. I think I'm gonna give it an 8.5 because there's a couple problems I have with it. When the episode happened where Sylvie broke the timeline and it branched everywhere, really big cliffhanger, and it just didn't go anywhere. It was fixed off screen. It was never referenced again. It was just like, kind of a letdown with that. Um, and I feel like Mobius's character was sort of sidelined in the latter half of the show. He did have some great moments, but um, he was such a standout in the show that whenever he was not on screen, I kind of felt it. So, and I just really liked the dynamic he had with Loki, and I wish we'd gotten more of that. But that being said, this the script of this show is fantastic. The dialogue, the writing, the character development, so far beyond a lot of what we've gotten in Marvel so far, and just really digging the kind of out there vibe that it gives. It's very unique. It's very stylized. It's very like the music is, you're in Loki when you hear that music before you even see anything on screen. But also the TVA, wondrous addition to the Marvel catalog of settings, and maybe more settings in this episode we can also talk about. But that's where I'm at with that. Now, before we go any further, I do want to remind you that today's video is sponsored by jakesdesignsrw.com. If you want to find the link in the description, you can go there to find that Jake has a ton of unique designs for shoes, shirts, and more. You'll never have to worry about shipping either because Jake, how does it ship?
Always free.
Just check out the shoes, man. They're softened nylon canvas. Look at those shirts. So comfy. Use the code POPCULT, POPCULT, at checkout for a 10% off your order. Jake has also recently released an illustrated children's book on Amazon Kindle, and let me tell you, folks, it's so adorable. It's great. It's very pretty. I think if you have small kids, really check it out.
Thank you.
I bought it just to check out my friend's design. I'm really digging it. I think I'd like to see more from him in the future if this one is successful. So help him out with that, especially if you have kids. I mean, they'll love it. It's really good for like infants and stuff that are just learning to read. And moving on from there, thanks a lot for the sponsorship. It's time to talk about the season finale of Loki. Man, I am so sad that we have to wait for more of this because it was such a great episode. right before the episode, we had left off with the Lokis had just enchanted Eliath, paving the way to the castle beyond Eliath's smokiness. So they were just stepping towards that. Mobius went back to the TVA to burn it down like Loki had intended. So this is where we start. And right off the bat, we get the greatest Marvel logo of all time, where it is just tons and tons of quotes from the MCU so far.
It gave me
And
chills,
it starts off,
like
yeah,
literal
it's
goosebumps.
like as soon as I heard the music cue for Cap and Peggy's dance song in the 40s or whatever, it's like, wow, they have earned this to the point where it's all jumbled up and confusing, but you're still hearing it's like shot after shot after shot of like goosebumps and memories, and we're all just little kids at heart, and this just brings that forward. But we also get it's mixed in with some real world audio as well.
The
The
Wakanda
Neil
Forever is what
Armstrong.
got me. The Wakanda Forever one actually did get me because I didn't realize what I was listening to, and then I just heard Chadwick Boseman go Wakanda Forever, and I was like, oh wow.
Right. I liked that they put Korg in there. They didn't have to because he's like, hey, we're gonna jump on the spaceship here, And what got me was there was an idea quote from Nick Fury when he was talking about the Avengers. But addition, do you have any standouts, Jake, or no? It's just all of it.
I'm loving it.
Okay, so we get
Everything.
yeah, we get the real world audio as well. So we get Neil Armstrong. It's one small step for man, and a couple others. Also, randomly, Greta, her saying, "How dare you, Greta Thunberg." Very controversial figure in the news. Pretty cool. Like anyway, it's just weird. I'm glad they included her. But we leave the uh, logo to show the ring of kind of a halo of the sacred timeline surrounding these floating rock in space that holds the castle, which is crumbling, and we see Loki and Sylvie walking up to the castle right where we left them off.
The Citadel at the end of time.
I was
Yeah.
going
The
to reveal
Citadel.
that when Miss Minutes later on reveals the name of it. But from the outside, it's crumbling. It's all these yellow cracks in it. One of these spires looks like the prune baton from the TVA. It's really cool design. Just got a lot of really mysterious music playing. And Loki and Sylvie kind of take a few moments to like take it in and breathe. Like we're here, we're at the end, and they have some cute dialogue. And Sylvie's trying to mentally prepare. She's been waiting for this her whole life. And before she can kick the door in, the door opens. They walk in. Miss Minutes reveals, "Welcome to the Citadel at the end of time."
She doesn't just reveal; she completely jump scares everybody and gives you one
Yeah.
of the most like creepy pasta worthy
Jeez.
faces I've
The
ever
Creepy
seen
Ultron
in a
pasta.
was
Marvel
bad.
anything.
And this is where me, Jake, and Lucas are probably like grabbing the armrest of our seats, just waiting because she says he's impressed, and we're like, "Are they going to do it?" And she's like, "He who remains," and we're like, "Oh, maybe not, maybe not." Okay, all
As
right,
soon as
we
soon as
know
she
that.
said "He who remains," I was like, "Not Loki."
Um, so yes, exactly, and that was very satisfying. And she, Loki and Silver just kind of like they're ready for anything, and they're just kind of waiting for some info, but they say Miss Minutes offers them a deal to. She's like, he's figured out a deal to get you back into the timeline. You want to beat the Avengers? You want to kill Thanos? You want the throne? All yours. Sylvie, you want some happy memories? You want a lifetime of never being alone? You want to join Loki? Fine for you. You can have it. And Loki and Sylvie kind of, they're like, Sylvie says it's fiction. That's not real. Which to be honest, at this point, it's like, is anything real because of all the stuff that's happened? And that's kind of what they're trying to figure out. That's what they want. And Loki's like, we write our own destiny. And he's really saying, we together write our own destiny because he wants to be with Sylvie, just hammering that relationship development home that he's with her and they want to do this together. And Miss Minutes, staying with her creepy tone, goes, good luck with that, disappears. And then we cut back to the TVA, just Renslayer's office. Longingly, I really like this because
I just want to say, now that we're talking about Renslayer, I hate this woman so much. I hate her so much. I don't want to see her again. Like, I'm going to see her again, but I don't want to.
I think that stands like that. That's good for the actress to hate her that much, and it's impressive when you have characters like that.
But like, that's what we did for like John Walker.
John Walker.
Exactly. But like, I wanted John Walker. Like, I hated him so bad. I wanted him to stay around. This woman, I don't want her. I want her gone. I want her completely erased. This variant needs to go.
Yes, John Walker, the false Captain America from Falcon and Winter Soldier. Yeah, he was very interesting. And like John Walker, Renslayer has a lot of dimension. So she's looking at the cup stain, the coffee mug stain on her desk, looking sad because she misses her friend Mobius. She's longing for normalcy and kind of feeling bad about it. Remember the coaster scene where she's like, use a coaster, and it was a great, just another testament to the show's great storytelling, even without the dialogue, just character development through
and the attention to detail
action
more than anything.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
have a very, this is the first show that they have like a very acute attention to details around what they're either giving us through imagery, whether they're giving us through the dialogue, or they're just giving through like music tones in general and like musical cues.
Yeah, I think this episode has some of the most standout music cues. Now that you mention that, especially when someone later on is talking, we'll get to that in a second. Miss Minutes pops up. She's downloading the files that Renslayer asked for in the previous episode, or is she? Because the download finishes. She's like, this isn't what I asked for. And she's like, Miss Minutes is like, well, he thinks this will be more useful to you. Another, like, just building this reveal up, and you're just like, who is it? And we cut back to Citadel, and Loki's like, he who remains, and Sylvie's like, not for much longer, because she's just ready to give this guy the stabbies. All right, she's ready to make this guy a skewer.
No talkie stabby.
Steel.
Kebab. A big old person kebab.
What's that, Jake? I missed what you said.
A big case of the cold steel.
Yes. The elevator door that they approach opens as they're standing around statues. The elevator door opens, and there's just a casual dude kind of sitting, very comfortably eating an apple with a purple robe that we, as Marvel nerds, see is Jonathan Majors. And so instantly,
purple and green robe. I just want to throw that out there. Purple and green robe.
Keeping just very letting you know that yes, Kang is here. Kang is here. And you were right, along with half the internet, but we were all hesitant because of WandaVision.
Yeah.
Not giving us Mephisto. Them giving us Kang here, so satisfying, because they had just gotten me to where I was like, I don't think it's going to be Kang. And no, it's Kang.
Right.
It's definitely Kang.
Is a more peaceful variant.
Yeah, I know, that's fine, because that's who Kang. This is like, we'll get to which version of him it is later, but so knowing that Jonathan Majors was cast as Kang in Ant-Man and the Wasp, or Quantumania, we're instantly, just the three of us, and other Marvel fans know this.
This is where the shows don't tie into the movies very well theory goes down the drain.
Yeah, I'm like, done. Thank you, Kevin. Even though Kevin said you don't have to watch the shows to understand the movies, yeah, you do. You gotta watch the shows. Like, he's wrong.
Yeah, you gotta. You absolutely have to.
I mean, since spoiler, this is going to be a very big spoiler because it's what we've been talking about with Justin's like theory about things not connecting.
When we talking about Black Widow?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll don't spoil the
Yeah,
Black
let's
Widow.
not
In
talk
this,
about
yeah,
that yet.
yeah.
I
We'll just
want
say
to.
at the end
I just
credits
want to
there
like, rub it in
is
your
a
face a little bit more
scene that
still.
connects it to the show, but we're not going to tell you what scene, like what happened in the scene. And his first lines is he's just like, "This is wild," and he's just showing instantly he's demanding screen presence with this great performance, this wacky, zany kind of Willy Wonka, you know, man behind the curtain performance. He's like,
Hey,
this is
honey,
unnatural.
glad you're
Two
watching.
Lokis. Hi, Carla. So two Lokis. It's unnatural. It's weird. Wow, I like it. And he, forget what they say, but he's like, basically, let's talk about this in my office. And we cut back to the TVA. Mobius appears in the office of Ravonna. They have, bit of banter back and forth. He basically is saying, we're friends. I'm not going to prune you just immediately, because we're friends. I have better things. He's like, we should change the way the TVA is working, and they have a bit of dialogue back and forth. They cut back to, oh yeah, B-15 is, this is where Ravonna still thinks she has the upper hand, and she's like, guards, come, and Mobius is like, that's not going to work. And so we see B-15 revealing that to another guard that Ravonna's just a variant. So they take her they're in a classroom with her on, I guess, Earth, where she's a teacher. Her actual version of who she's a variant of is a teacher. And I didn't read the name, but I know from watching some preliminary research that it's her alter ego in the comics, which is cool. Jake, did you catch her name or no?
I did not.
It's not that important, but it is a nice little wink and nod Easter egg. Back at the Citadel, Sylvie instantly in the elevator just attacks He Who Remains, who has a tempad, device. So he just kind of dodges, and he's like, "Funny, you're attacking me. This is great." And they get to his office, and he's basically like, "I know everything. I know it all. I've followed you. I even the stuff the TVA doesn't know. I know." That little look by the lake, just like uncomfortably, jabbing at them, knowing that they have a relationship that they haven't really vocalized, but they know. And he's just like, y'all are into each other. Like,
During this whole exchange with him and how he was acting, I just want to say, like, this was the most Disney inputted character to me. Like, this man, this whole character seems so whimsical. Like,
Yeah.
like it didn't fit the tone of the show that we were watching, and it also doesn't fit. Even though Marvel is like really good at like comedic timing, 90% of the time, and like keeping up a good like happiness feeling. Like this man was way too whimsical feeling. I think that's the best word to use for it. Like he does not that performance did not fit a Marvel within the Marvel universe, but it did because of how out of line it was.
Yeah, how
I
creepy
disagree.
his whimsicalness is fitting for someone who we are supposed to be viewing as this villain. We can look back at the Collector and think the same thing. We can look back at the Grand Master and think the same thing. Basically implying that once you get to this level of all powerfulness, really you're just out to have fun.
Well, we'll talk about that later, but I did agree with Jake because I was going to bring up the Collector and the Grandmaster for having this sort of whimsical, out there nature. He's actually, I would say that this version of Kang is a little more subdued than those two are, but with a lot more confidence.
Yeah, you got to remember this is the guy who destroyed other multiverses.
Yeah, but I don't agree with the comparison to Collector and Grandmaster because they fit the movie they were in, right? So Guardians of the Galaxy and Collector fit the comedic movie roles that they were in.
Makes sense.
But
good point.
the super comedic timing coming from Kang and like how he was presenting himself did not fit the tone of what Loki was doing. Yes,
No,
Loki has
you're
some
right. Yeah.
comedic notes, but it wasn't.
Right.
This was a more serious, more dialogue, more heavy driven show. Whereas
Yeah.
this guy just comes out of nowhere, acting like he's coming from like a Looney Tunes show.
Yeah, and I do like I was going to mention this later, but since we're talking about it now, I don't think this is the Kang we're going to see in the future. The way he acts. So
No, 100%.
this is
100% correct.
This performance is allocated just to He Who Remains, because if he's been sitting here for millions and millions of eons and eons of years, just having knowledge of everything, then his empathy is going to be completely gone, having done all of this in the name of peace and whatever. He's going to go mad. He's mad. He hasn't interacted with sentient beings in a while, and he's just happy he's just enjoying, being next to people and watching things unfold. He's like got a front row seat to the end of everything right now. He reveals that he pulls some papers out. He's like, I know everything you're gonna do. I paved the road. Loki's like, well, you didn't plan for us to come here. And he's like, oh yeah, I paved the road. And you just walked the path to here, which makes me wonder like why he would offer the deal at the beginning with Miss Minutes for them to get reinserted back into the timeline. Which I think may have been a test.
Because he's a master manipulator.
Well, I think he was testing them for something. Second, but he tells Sylvie, he's like, Sylvie, you can't trust anybody, and he starts to kind of not really like he's manipulating, but at the same time he's less, driving them and more just pointing out the facts. He's like, Sylvie, you don't trust people, and that he's like, are you sure you can trust this Loki? And that's really he's just telling the audience what she's been feeling already.
Hey, Alex. Hope you have fun at Epcot today, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you. Yes, love to see you here. Back at the TVA, Mobius is like, the TVA is a lie, and Renslayer's like, what if revealing that we were wrong about Renslayer knowing who He Remains was and knowing we thought she knew more last episode. She definitely doesn't this way. Like, so she's like, but she does have more faith than Mobius. She's like, I think this is necessary. I think we're here for a reason, and I'm not gonna mess with it unless I'm absolutely sure. And they're like, well, you betrayed me. You changed. No, you changed. We were supposed to be friends. Like, there's a line I can't remember. Friends across time, which is. He's like, that was so pretty. Wow. Doesn't mean anything to you.
I was waiting for the Justin Owen Wilson impression. I was waiting for it.
There's not much of him here because
I know, but I was just waiting for it.
Right. Wow. So they get to the point in their standoff where Mobius is like, you know what, I've had it, and she's like, oh, you're gonna prune me? He's like, yeah. She's like, you're no threat to me. And he's like, oh, we'll see about that. And he just kind of casually steps forward, and then she just instantly overpowers him, and he just falls to the ground in a little pile while she's got the prune stick. He's like, yep, you were right. Back here again. And he's like, go ahead and do it. Just do it. Just prune me, whatever. And she's like, I'm not going to prune you this time. You're kind of cute. I was, feeling for you about the coffee stain on the table and thinking about you. You're right. Friends across time is pretty, and I like your mustache. So no, I'm not going to prune you this time. But she does decide to open up a portal with the temp pad. And he's like, where are you going? Wow. Are you going to leave me here? Where are you going? And she's like, to find free will. Oh, I missed the line. She says the only person that has free will is the one who's in charge. And Mobius was, of course, saying we can't destroy innocent timelines. We can't, take away people's free will. And of course, when I think Renslayer saying I'm going to find free will means she's going to look for the person in charge. Which, knowing from the comics, her character is smitten with Kang. So I guess she's looking for Kang and hasn't met him yet, which surprising as hell to me. I didn't think that was a thing. I thought they knew each other already. back at the Citadel, Loki, this is where kind of the master plan is starting to unfold. That like the final reveal of like the big mystery of what's going on, why He Who Remains is doing this, and Loki's like, why are you doing this? Why are you so intent on having one timeline? What are you so afraid of? And he goes, me. Um, and Loki's like, well, who are you? And he's like, well, people have called me a ruler, a conqueror, and I'm just like chills.
Goosebumps.
And he just dumbing down his humanity, like just showing how he's actually human. He's still human. He's like, yeah, a jerk. I've been called too, and he says we're beyond names, which was kind of like, to a casual viewer, I felt like somewhat of a betrayal. I think they should have at least said his name because they never do this whole time. But he says I'm beyond names, which me, Jake, and Lucas don't need.
No, but I also like that they didn't give us his name already. I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it. It gives us the mystery of the character himself for a casual viewer or someone who has just watched the MCU grow.
Yeah, but it gives you just know that at this point, everybody who's a casual viewer with their more Marvel friend is just like, who is that? Who is this guy? And they're like, it's Kang. And so you're gonna know, but you require the fans to tell you. So he explains a lot of exposition here. He explains he's like, I am a scientist from the 31st century, not really confirming that he's Nathaniel Richards, a descendant of Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic of the Fantastic Four. Not sure if that's going to be a thing. They might not go that way because it doesn't really need to happen.
But Fantastic Four is confirmed as a movie, so
yeah. So he's saying when he was a scientist in the 31st century, he discovered universes stacked on top of each other. Basically, he discovered how to communicate with the multiverse, different universes, at the same time as all these other universes his different variants were also discovering the multiversal communication. So he says he made contact and had narcissistic peace sharing technology, which is important because if you got to meet all different versions of yourself and you're not like Loki where you betray everybody instantly, you're going to have this like narcissistic, like, oh, I like your variant of me. I like your shoes. And he's like, I like your shoes, like your hat, like your car, which just, he does such a killer job of delivering this exposition to where you're never like, huh, what? No, it's great. He even has like a little visual effect on the table of like, very, very staple for Marvel to have these visual kind of cues. We've seen it before with like the Guardians of the Galaxy explaining, the Power Stone and the Infinity Stones and stuff like that, or the Sacred Timeline, or you've seen it before in the Marvel. And he says, not all versions of me were good. Some of them just saw the new universes as new places to conquer. So that started the multiversal war, where the goal was to annihilate any universe that Kang couldn't rule. And I can't remember. And then Sylvie's like, "Oh, so this is why, this is where you come in, to where you save everything." And he just goes, "Oh man," which is in the music cues with him saying that. So it's just this weird, uncomfortable, unsettling moment. I think you have a variant behind you, Lucas. But it's just this cool thing, and
my little baby over here making a little entrance. Sorry guys for the little deviation.
Hi there. And so this is where we get like what has been talked about on the internet. There's some Adam and Eve symbolism. I think at some point Kang is like, you think I'm the devil, right? And so he's eating an apple, and Loki and Sylvie are kind of symbolizing Adam and Eve at this fresh new start. and he's kind of tempting them with power or chaos, order or chaos. So basically, the biblical scene in Adam and Eve where the devil's tempting Eve with the apple. And in the Bible, we know she takes the apple, and then knowledge of good and evil happens, which causes kind of a chaotic existence. Maybe the Eve in this show might do something similar. We'll get to that at the end of this. So he's saying, like, I ended the multiversal world by finding Alioth. I weaponized Alioth, who is a creature who can consume time and space, but not metal, apparently. Just time and space, as long as it's not made of metal, for whatever reason. Based on the last episode. Isolates his timeline, creates TVA, calls this cosmic harmony. And this is like where he's showing his like unpredictability, where he stands on the desk and it's like really menacing, but like not really menacing, just like he's bored. He's just having fun. He's so excited right now. This is like the most hype thing that's happened to him in trillions of years, probably.
Super stimulated.
Yeah. And he delivers the line as made famous by Dwayne Johnson in Moana. You're welcome, for keeping them safe. He's like, you think I'm the devil, but I keep you safe. And if you think I'm the devil, wait till you meet my variants. Chills. Because it's like, we're gonna meet them. We're gonna meet the variants. We know we're gonna meet them. It's very, very satisfying.
Council of Kings.
I actually will. I think we will get that. And it's a lot of repetitive dialogue here.
I feel like that might be in Quantumanium. I feel like we might be getting multiple Kings in Quantumanium.
So maybe he keeps kind of repeating the same thing for like casual people who are having trouble hanging on. They keep repeating the same, through line in different ways. He's like, you hate the dictator, but if you kill me, something far worse will take over. And he says, I've lived 1,000,000 lifetimes and the TVA works. And Sylvie's like, or you could just be lying. And he's like, and Loki's like, oh, you can't just prune infinite timelines or innocent timelines. And he's like, no, you guys would. And this is where he offers the choice. And by the way, this whole scene kind of reminds me of like the Matrix Reloaded, where Neo just goes into the room with all the TVs surrounding. It's just like, I'm the architect. And it's a lot of ergo. It's just a lot of exposition, because this whole scene is this conversation at a desk and nothing else. But the music, the set design, and the pacing, and all their performances really keep you engaged the whole time. Plus, all the knowledge being unveiled is crazy. So he's like, 2 options. You kill me, timeline, multiverse happens, and there's an infinite versions of devils of myself that you have to deal with, or you 2 run the thing, which I like how he delivers that. And they start to, they're like, well, we don't believe you. And he's like, well, I'm old, I'm tired, I don't want to do this anymore. Then I look, you guys, it's time for someone else. And then they start calling him out, like, oh, you're a bad guy, you're horrible. And he's like, don't lecture me, Loki. We're all villains here. Look what you've done. Look how many people you've killed. That he's just throwing it back in their face. And Loki, more than Sylvie, if you look at their faces, Loki feels the guilt, which you can see Sylvie doesn't. So very different in their characters. Sylvie is just like angry at him for like, how dare you, and without speaking. It's really cool, there. And so he do bad things for a good reason, which Loki kind of likes that idea to an extent.
We lost you there for a minute, buddy.
Me?
Yep.
How long?
You're good now.
Okay. So he says, I love all this honesty, coming out. And it's just showing like, he knows what's going to happen, but he just loves seeing it unfold. And Sylvie's like, all right, I've had enough. I'm going to kill him. And Loki's like, wait, we should think about this. He's not trying to stop her necessarily from killing him. He's just like, we need to think a little harder about this, because if he's telling the truth, pretty bad, right?
A
And
whole
she's like,
lot of crazy is about to happen.
yeah.
And
So
that's where they're showing the good character progression of Loki
yeah,
compared to like I thought Sylvie would be having a really good character progression, change how she thought, come around, be more likable, and she's not.
well, and they've said earlier that Sylvie has lived a lot longer than Loki in this, and she's had a much more desperate life since a child. So this is all she's wanted her whole life, and she's never Loki is already at this point been presented with having his desires achieved and then failed multiple times. Sylvie has only ever just survived. She's never had this opportunity. So she's going to take it as soon as she can. And she also, like, is what is said, she can't trust anybody. She cannot, that's her character, that's her cornerstone. She doesn't trust anybody. So she thinks he's lying. She genuinely thinks he's lying. But Loki says, I'm a liar. And I don't think this guy's lying because I know a liar. And, and this is where she turns to him. You only want the throne. How could I have trusted you? And he's like, you never trusted me, did you? And he's so hurt delivering these lines. And he's like, this is bigger than us, you know. And she's like, well, what do we do? I guess we're in a pickle because Loki says you can't trust and I can't be trusted. Great, black and white dialogue here. Establishing their foil with each other. Um, but Loki says the most logical thing, where he's like, well, even if he is lying, the cost of getting this wrong is too great. And so this is where she finally reveals kind of that she's in love with him, where she's like, well, then kill me, take your throne, because she's, so hurt by all of this that they can't be together in this. And Loki's like, stop. I've been where you've been. I've felt where you felt. Kind of a corny line that if anybody else delivered, it would be corny, but he does a good job with it. And they ultimately get to this Disney this like Disney crescendo of Loki saying, I just want you. And you're like, yeah, yeah. And he's like, to be okay. And we're like, oh, come on. Just it doesn't matter. The Hammy line still works because she drops her weapon, they make out, and she says, I'm not you, as she knocks him back into the TVA.
You just skipped right past that whole fight scene between the two of them, by the way.
Well, they were fighting in between that. I also think
just throwing it out there. That was a really well choreographed fight scene between two people. That was great. That was a great fight. We also saw the use of magics. Yeah. We also saw the use of magic, like combat magic, not the illusion magic. So it was a really good scene.
And also, right, like in the middle of the fight, there was a moment where they stopped to talk, and the sacred timeline started to branch outside, and Kang, or He Who Remains, says, we've reached the threshold. I lied. At this point, I don't know anything what's going to happen from now on. So I'm in the dark, and he kind of looks even more excited at that he's like, finally, I don't know what's going to happen. So I have a little bit of humanity back for the first time in eons, where I'm just as surprised as you are by things happening. So she knocks him back. Sylvie knocks him back. It's a very hurtful scene. Very emotional. Tensions are high. Back in the TVA, we go, and then Loki's just sitting there on the ground. Go back to the Citadel. Sylvie really doesn't waste too much time. Just kind of walks up and just sheaths her little knife sword into his belly. To which he looks at her, smiles. Oh, before that, she kind of knocks the desk away to where he jumps, which is great because that's the first time he's been shocked by anything. Again, just his delight at being shocked.
Do you think he was shocked, or now that he knew that he was going to die, he was just like still doing the play of like, oh, I'm going to die? Like,
well, no, I think he genuinely got jump scared by the desk being thrown because he didn't expect that to happen where normally he would. But he smiled at his jump scare because he hasn't had that experience in such a long time. I love, like, if you deep dive, you can really tell his performance is so accurate to what that character would be feeling. But he knows he's going to die. Like he expects to die. I feel like that was his plan. and kind of like Eve eating the apple and chaos ensued. Sylvie stabs him. The multiverse erupts into chaos, and he like smiles and winks, and he says, "I'll see you soon." Because he's like, well, if you kill me, I'm just gonna end up back here anyways at the end of the multiverse war. This is the only outcome if you do this. Maybe not. We'll see as Phase 4 goes forward. This is the last we see of Sylvie. Back at the TVA, Loki is, the camera lets you linger on Loki's face, and he's really feeling everything. Probably wondering, I guess Loki's always do lose. I guess that's how we are. We just lose at everything. But he decides to reject that, still having hope that now without the TVA.
Before we do that, we also get the scene with Mobius and Hunter B14, B13, where they're sitting in front of the branching TemPad area. Before we got to Loki. Hey, yeah, you're back.
Okay.
But before we got to Loki, back in the TVA, we did see Mobius and B14, and they're sitting in front of their the branching TemPad from where the time bomb went off, and they're saying they're like, what do we do now?
Yeah, I was getting to that. He says there's 63 new branches. Mobius says there's 63 new branches in this unit alone, and he's like, well, does he want us to just let this happen? But before that, Loki gets up. He corrects himself. He starts to, he's like, I'm not gonna. I believe that without the TVA having control over the reality, I actually have free will now. So I'm gonna stand up and do something instead of moping. And as Mobius says, does he just want us to let the timeline branch? How are we going to stop it? And Loki goes, you can't stop it. We made a horrible mistake. We went to the Citadel at the end of time, and he starts explaining everything that happened. And Mobius is just like, huh? What? He's like, what? Are you an analyst? What division are you from? Slow down. Wow. Which is revealed that Loki is not in the same TVA that he left, because this Mobius has never met this Loki, and maybe it almost seems like he doesn't know what Lokis are. He didn't recognize him as a Loki. And that's when you're confused and you get chills, and this reminds me of the moment after Thanos' finger snapped, where everybody's just like, what happened? And
yeah.
The most chilling scene the whole episode, Loki, kind of like the Planet of the Apes at the end of the original, where Loki turns, and if you're a comic book fan, it's a statue of Kang the Conqueror in charge of the TVA,
and it's in a more comic book accurate costume.
Mm-hmm. And
still following with the comic book accurate costume theme they've been doing for the shows,
right? And it's fitting that the He Who Remains variant didn't have that costume, because he's not the Conqueror. He's just a variant. He's actually, in some ways, he's a good guy. He's a necessary evil, like Ravonna. There's a lot of at the end of this, reflecting on, hey, they weren't going up against the bad guy per se. They were mistaken the whole time that, he was actually a good guy. And so now that hell has been unleashed, we're going to talk about, what we think about what the rest of the Marvel universe, what did you think of this episode in particular, Jake, with that, especially that end?
Jonathan Majors.
Yeah.
What a win. He's fantastic. His acting in this episode was just top notch. He definitely really nailed what I think somebody who had achieved ultimate power, I really think that's how they would behave, especially if they had been alone for who knows how long.
Mm-hmm.
And
very detached.
Really pushed it home for me.
What else has Jonathan Majors been in that because I don't know. I don't think I know the name off the top of my head.
Lovecraft Country is where
Lovecraft Country on HBO.
Haven't seen that yet. Have not seen
Phenomenal.
Have not seen that yet. So
they haven't renewed it for a second season. They canceled the show, but I'm willing to bet it's so he could have more time to work in Marvel.
Yeah, he probably left.
That would be a smarter decision.
Loved it. Jonathan Majors just won me over as soon as I saw him. It's like, yeah, I enjoyed this.
with
Like,
seeing how, like I
doing
said,
my note watch through. I got to Jonathan Majors and I always said Jonathan Majors is great. That's all it says.
so like I said, seeing how whimsical he was, I can't wait to see like the conqueror side, the tyrannical side, the
Yeah.
evil side, the what that we know is coming. So
Yeah, I
it'll
agree.
be it'll definitely be a different acting role at that point because it'll be a different variant.
He'll be a different
So,
character altogether for the
exactly.
most part. Yeah.
Exactly.
Very excited for that. And just how well they set everything up to where if you've watched WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier and this feels like the end of almost like the end of like a preamble phase. So not like the end of the phase, but like this is like the moment where Thanos walks up and grabs the Infinity Gauntlet and is like, fine, I'll do it myself, where you're just like, oh crap, things
Right.
are coming.
I felt
you
more
know,
like the throne, like the seeing of him in Avengers and like grabbing the gauntlet. So like when he like turns his head to the side and you see like Grimace looking at you through through the movie. Yeah, that's what I felt. I didn't feel the gauntlet yet. Seeing multiple Kangs and seeing like multiversal things happen like on screen, I think that'll be like the gauntlet grab for me.
When
Well,
we see his helmet go on.
Yeah, the helmet go on.
Right.
Yes. Well, I'm not saying
it's
just because
more
he's using an
from
object, but like
it's more from the fact that the timeline is now branched into the multiverse. So now it's like anything could happen now. I think we know a little bit of what could happen. I'm hoping that you know, with Spider-Man No Way Home, we are getting some direct consequences from this. Whether that happens or not, we'll have to wait. I only imagine we're going to get that trailer soon. But this is kind of like in WandaVision when we saw Ralph Boner. I thought that, oh, so Wanda's allowing other X-Men from other universes to bleed into our universe, and they can actually use the same actors. So if there is a great casting choice, we don't have to we could still see Michael Fassbender as Magneto or whatever. And I know people want Hugh Jackman back. I don't want to get my hopes up for that, but that's possible narratively speaking without causing too much of a stir in the current canon, as we talked about last week with the multiverse allowing for anything to be canon.
I think we're going to be seeing X-Men return, like that were already people that were already being played. I think we might, since the MCU is like a younger version of everything, I think we might see James McAvoy's Xavier. I've been thinking about this recently, actually, a lot. I think we might get more of like the first class era of X-Men being brought in. I think it's going to be completely new people casted for Fantastic Four, which I'm completely fine with. I don't want any of those people to try and regain the power that they had before with those characters. And the more I think about it, since the Multiversal Wars is Secret Wars, so if that's the definitive game plan, Doctor Doom is a huge part of Secret Wars. So they have to introduce him before that happens. And I wonder if it's going to be through Fantastic Four. I don't want him in a Fantastic Four movie as the original fight. I think like someone lower, like Mole Man on the scale, would be better introduced.
You've already seen it?
Yeah, kind of. I think and plus he's also like us who are comic book people know Doctor Doom is bigger than just a Fantastic Four movie. Like he's definitely he's almost at this point an omniversal threat, like 90% of the time. Even though people don't think he's that strong, he's definitely one of the like 5 strongest humans, essentially. That like villain wise, definitely. So the fact that he got degraded to 2 movies just for Fantastic Four before, I think he deserves better this time around. But that's
way
one of the
better.
things I'm
Please, please, way better.
But after seeing what they have done now, because Kang is going to be a Thanos level villain moving forward, but they have to have something even bigger for Secret Wars. And I think Doctor Doom is going to be. I think they're actually going to use Doctor Doom in a great way after seeing what they did with Kang, or the start of what Kang is.
I hope so. I will say two things just to throw them out there. The fact that we got He Who Remains makes me wonder if we're ever going to get. I am more faithful that we will get the Beyonder at some point.
Yeah, eventually.
What about the one above all?
I don't think we're gonna get that. No.
We might, but that would be literally Endgame Marvel reset button.
Yeah. That's like a 2045.
Or we'll get like
movie.
this small insignificant appearance by him, like a couple of the comic book appearances that he's done weren't significant to the storyline in any way.
If Stan Lee was still alive, it'd be awesome if they cast him as the one above all, because he is the one above all.
Yeah, but now you know who we have to default to, right?
Ryan Reynolds.
No, not as the one above all.
I just know you, so I was thinking that's what you're gonna.
Who else plays God?
Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
Morgan
Freeman would make a good Dr. Doom, but that
what?
would only
Dr. Doom? No.
Why are you doing this?
What? Stop that, Justin. Cut it out. You're just talking smack.
Don't. And then still staying on track with the whole like using everything we've seen that is now basically canon that's ever been owned by Marvel and movie wise. There's I saw it yesterday or the day before that there is not confirmation, but there, you know how we've had like leaks and rumors about Spider-Man No Way Home,
right?
Yeah,
Venom being involved in the MCU.
I was going to say
in Tom Hardy's Venom. So I know. So I know you don't know comic books, Justin, and I know Jake does. And a new event that just ended recently is the King in Black and the War of the Symbiotes, et cetera, and that's an a multiversal level threat.
Yeah, we also got the King in Black and Legion, didn't we?
Did
the
we
King
get
the show?
Yeah, in the show Legion, didn't we get the King in Black mentioned?
Demon with yellow.
No,
that was the Shadow.
That's a different. It's a different show, Justin.
Legion
with yellow eyes.
That's the one with Xavier's son. That's what he's called. That's what he calls to him in his nightmares.
Yeah.
The King in Black is
the Shadow King. Shadow King is
Shadow King. That's who it was.
Yeah.
My mistake.
The Shadow King's a completely different thing. The Shadow King.
Yeah, he is. My mistake.
Yeah, no, the King in Black is Null. So if
I highly doubt they're going to reach into Legion lore for this.
But
the
fact that the Venom movie is the fact that the Venom movies bring in another symbiote. I mean, even though Venom is always interacts with symbiotes, if Venom gets introduced into the MCU and there's a bigger outer space, we already know the cosmic level of Marvel, and the fact that we're bringing in like literal gods,
we're bringing in Gore and
Thor,
Love and Thunder.
We're bringing God and omnipotent level threats. And if they keep going, which I think we're going to keep seeing these movies as long as there's stories to tell, I think that we might see things that are newer, like the War of the Symbiotes and like all these other newer, like cosmic, like God level stories.
I mean, we might see those in animated form, if at all. If we see them in cinematic form, that would probably be 10 years down the line.
Just seeing the level of expansion this show did for the MCU, not just keeping it contained to terrestrial and like just cosmic. Now it's multi-dimensional and different versions. It's the cat's out of the bag. There's nowhere to go but up. Like we thought we hit the roof. We thought we were skimming the top of the roof, but no, the roof literally just jumped infinity levels higher. Anything is possible.
Yeah, we might even get Mephisto. Who knows?
Yeah. I think the destruction of the Infinity Stones in our main continuity so far is going to spell the destruction for the main continuity, allowing them to reset and bring the mutants into the main fold again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that would be an interesting way to do it, but like one of the things I was going to say is with the multiverse branching, because what this means for the MCU is that up until this point, there was no multiverse.
Correct.
They were locked away from the multiverse. They are unlocked. The multiverse is now unlocked, so you don't necessarily need to have a reset to pull in other characters. And I'm much more like I didn't think they were going to go this crazy with the end of Loki, and now that they have, and we're getting the multiverse of madness. Definitely, absolutely, 100% a result of a consequence of Loki. Absolutely, especially if he's in it. I do have faith that they will bring in Tom Hardy's Venom, whether confirmed or not. Why wouldn't they? You have these characters, like the stories are going to be good. It's not like
Right.
oh, now granted, I would prefer a recast of Venom because I love Tom Hardy, but I don't like those movies that much. They're just okay. I don't like supporting them. I don't think we should congratulate the quality of those movies, and they keep making movies at that quality. I like to demand more for my properties, but it's not that they ruined Venom with those movies. He's adequate. I would be interested in seeing that Venom go up against like a Tom Holland, but we also have Morbius coming out. They could use that. It just at this point, it's like they have now, as we talked about last episode, they're not shackled to a single canon. They can bring in whatever. They can bring in stuff from What If, and I think they're going to. Why wouldn't they? They have permission now narratively with this show, and it's a great testament. I was going to say earlier, it's kind of a non sequitur, but when we saw Goliath as a smoky, devouring creature, he reminded me of the stupid Galactus in Silver Surfer.
He did.
And I'm hoping that that's just not the Hollywood standard for planet devouring creatures, and we don't get that as Galactus again.
Goliath is a cloud-looking monster.
No, I know, but it's just like
fine.
I'm afraid that they're going to screw up Galactus again. I think we will get Galactus soon too. I also my other theory is like
not soon.
I think relative, not like next year, in Phase 5 maybe. But I think I don't think the X-Men are coming until Phase 5. I think Phase 4 culminates with a introductory multiversal war where it's not the multiversal war to end all wars, but it's the first skirmish of multiversal war. It'll be I don't know if I think it will be in Multiverse of Madness is the kind of the end of Phase 4. It could be, it might not be, but normally the phases last for more movies and culminate in an Avengers movie. But there's not going to be an Avengers movie for a while, as what Kevin Feige said. So unless Phase 4 is going to be like double length, I do think, or maybe Quantumania might be bigger than what we're thinking. Even though Ant-Man movies are typically side stories, Quantumania might be a maniacal story. But I do think we're going to get kind of a drop-off point after a huge cinematic event story, and then that will lead into the X-Men. I don't think we're going to get the X-Men before that initial multiversal war. I think they're coming before the end of that, but I think we have so many characters to introduce and tell the story of. I think Fantastic Four, is coming before X-Men, and that's not till over a year away. That's like end of year 2021. So the end of 2022 is where I think we're going to get some or 2023 is where we're going to get some X-Men. The end of 2023.
That's good. That's a good prediction. I like that.
Yeah, and that's fine.
I'm okay with that timeline.
Yeah, and the only thing is, they're probably going to bring Wolverine in first because he's the biggest moneymaker and fan favorite. Not that he's necessarily R3's favorite, but they're definitely going to. I think they're going to recast Wolverine. I know. I have a little bit more faith that Hugh Jackman might reprise the role, but
I highly doubt he will.
I don't think he will. Like I know that there was some recent buzz on the internet about that happening. Oh, by the way, just a fun thing for you viewers if you're still watching the Free Guy trailer. There's a fun little reaction video of Deadpool reacting to Free Guy, and it's just beautiful. It's great.
It is.
It was adorable.
You should watch it. And it makes no sense as to why this happening. I guess they're both actors are in the movie, and they just got permission to do it. And on. I can't. And I wasn't as excited before about the movie, and now I am. Now I have to see it
I'm
instantly.
definitely going to be watching that.
100%. So
Right.
I like how you dropped the Avengers is usually like their big, like, their go all do all.
Mhm.
One of the main Avengers titles before is the Avengers versus X-Men title.
Yeah.
So that might be
That won't
something
be
we
the
see.
first one. That won't be the first one we get.
No, I know,
it will be
but
the second one if we get it. Because they're gonna do. They might just call it Civil War 2. Which would be
there was already
no.
a
shorter title.
there was already a Civil War 2. That's
Yeah, but the
not that.
first Civil War is not anything like the comic book Civil War, so they could just call it
No,
whatever as long as it's
it
canon.
was not. It's just true. I know.
But yeah, I mean,
Ooh,
this
it looks like
show,
we lost Justin.
it's over. I want more now, but we don't have to wait much longer.
Mhm.
August 11th. Before we end,
August 11th is what, man? You cut out. Sorry.
are you muted?
No.
What's August 11th, Justin?
I'm muted. I
No.
can't hear.
We can hear you.
Technical difficulties.
Oh. Okay.
I guess I'll leave and come back. Can you guys hear me? Nod your heads. Okay. Interesting.
Cool.
Technical
Always something.
difficulties. Don't
Always
let the
something.
computer update when you have to cast online.
Jeez. Justin.
Okay.
You silly
I'm
pants.
Oh, there he is. He's back.
There he is.
All right.
No, what were you
So,
saying? August what?
So August 11th, we got What If coming out.
Yes.
Before we finish up though, if we're gonna talk about the 3 Disney Plus shows we have so far,
Yes.
where are your rankings right now? Which is number 1, and how do you rank the top 3?
Loki, Cap and Winter Soldier. I mean, Cap and yeah. I'm just calling it Cap and Winter Soldier because
Right.
that's who it is.
Yeah.
And WandaVision for
Right.
excitement and entertainment value alone.
Right.
Storyline wise, I do have to say Wanda is right there with Cap and Winter.
For me, I follow along with Jake. The same thing. Loki, Winter Soldier, and Wanda. When it comes to story though, and just like great storytelling, I think Winter Soldier takes it a little bit more for me because I have stated before how much I do like the terrestrial aspect, the more human aspect, the more relatable aspect. But for as being a comic book nerd and like what I'm like my fan service and what I'm really into, Loki took everything for me. And
oh yeah.
Now, to be fair, this is the
Meow.
first season.
Meow.
This is the first season of Loki. It's not the whole series, whereas WandaVision and
Right.
Falcon and Winter
Yeah,
Soldier
we've gotten
are
the whole series. Well, we might get another season of Cap and Winter Soldier.
Well, we might, but they did confirm that they are making another Captain America movie with Sam starring.
Right.
So it's a movie. I think is going to be the sequel here.
Yeah, we probably. Yeah, you're right.
But as if we're going to look at episodic television and the season 1 of Loki being its own thing, comparing each season of television, agree with you two. WandaVision is forever held down by the Ralph Boner joke that just really
Fully agreed. Yeah,
felt like a
how dare you give us
jab
that
in the
much
kidney
fan service just to pull the rug out.
And I also I like the gimmick of television, but I think it just it feels like 2 separate things when you're watching WandaVision to me. So I loved it, but at the same time, it was a very anxiety inducing show because you're like, who is what, huh, why, huh, and but which was kind of fun, but ultimately annoying because Ralph Boner.
Something else I didn't talk about in our Marvel news. Now we're talking about WandaVision. I am so sorry to cut you off. Agatha Harkness was also confirmed to be coming back.
Yep, we did forget to say that. She's coming back soon.
She's coming back in an upcoming project. That's all we know. But
we knew. I figured we knew that already. But
the news just dropped like the day or 2 ago about it.
Okay.
2 days
ago.
Well,
not surprising at all.
No, it's not. It's just we were talking about Wanda and just like how like things trigger in your memory. You're like, hey, yeah.
So yeah, that's my problem with WandaVision. Falcon and Winter Soldier. I probably felt more emotional throughout the whole story. I think it was a very brave story to tell. But I do think the tone kept shifting a little too much, where I wanted more of the buddy cop dynamic between Sam and Bucky, and we just didn't get much of that. And I also didn't like the power broker reveal at all. I thought it was very lame and underwhelming. Am I still here, guys?
Yeah, you're still here.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like the power broker reveal was also extremely foreshadowed.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just laid a really heavy hand. Like they were like, "This is who it is," without actually putting a neon sign on her.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. That's where I think those two shows fall flat.
Would that be my
I walked away for a second.
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
No
so
worries.
like,
Falcon and Winter Soldier. Did you have more to say?
oh no, I'm just saying. Like, I agree. Like, I don't know what y'all are talking about, but I heard the power broker and a heavy hand. Sorry, I had to go deal with one of my animals. Too obvious with power broker, not obvious with WandaVision. Loki came together and put those two kind of reveals together and made it a lot payoff great.
Mm-hmm. So that was what held it down. I also felt like Falcon and Winter Soldier was a lot of it felt a little bit like Age of Ultron in the sense that they're like setting up all these different things for future projects. It just feels like a movie where you have John Walker is being set up for this thing, Power Broker is being set up for that thing, Bucky and Sam set up for this thing. It just felt like a lot of like, let's get all of this in here to do this. But and it's just like the highs of Falcon and Winter Soldier are higher than anything that Loki has, but it's not consistent throughout. Where Loki, I think, is consistent throughout, with the exception of Lamentus, which was necessary to make us drop our expectations back down with the next episode exceeding them, which I thought was a genius way to do it. It's not like there was tons of filler episodes. There's really only one right in the middle of the series to let us take a break. So yeah, I like that we're all in agreement with the rankings. And the other thing to point out, what we're saying is it gets better as each show comes out. Each show is better than the last one.
Agreed.
Which makes me very hopeful for the next show. I think it's Miss Marvel is after What If. What If is an anthology, so it's going to be a different ranking. We can't rank all of What If as one block because it's going to be so wildly different.
Yeah.
We're probably going to be reviewing What If episodes. Black Widow is definitely coming. Whether that's tomorrow or next week, we're still working out the kinks.
Yeah, we're trying to give everybody time to watch it too.
Yeah. So join us back for that. Remember, please like and subscribe. Adventures by Able,
yes, please, guys.
In the Bat Loop, and Pretentious Popculture
coming out
everywhere.
Yeah,
thanks, guys, for watching, and thanks for popping off of pop culture.
All right.
For all time, always.
For all time and always.